Hello and welcome. Today we have with us Professor Vijay Prasad, who teaches in Trinity College in the United States. Vijay, good to have you with us.
Thank you for having me.
Vijay, the West Asian policy particularly hinges, as you know, on Israel and the settlements, the West Bank. When Obama came and he gave his speech in Cairo, he had promised to be more even-handed on the issue, said yes, the Palestinians have a cause and the settlements have to stop. As we see now, the settlements, particularly East Jerusalem, is very much on. Obama is completely silent on this. Do you think that he has, for tactical reasons, given in completely to the Israeli lobby till his health bill gets passed and other things he's able to sort out?
I think that, frankly, since 1967, the United States has played a very duplicitous role as far as West Asia is concerned. In other words, the United States government and the United States, the major lobbies have pretended to be, as they say, an honest broker in a peace agreement between two parties, when in actual fact, they are working intimately with the Israeli government to further the agenda of Israel against its neighbors. So I don't think that there's ever going to be an honest broker role from the United States government in West Asia, which is why every time a new president comes, there is this period of waiting where people say, will this president, will Jimmy Carter, will Bill Clinton, will somebody, please God, come and deliver the Palestinians from their yoke by putting pressure on the Israelis, as if the US government is prepared to put any pressure on Israel. So there is one illusion about the honest broker status.
But Vijay, if you really look at it, Obama promised very little on Israel and Palestine issue. All that he talked about was really stopping the settlements from being extended. All other issues, right of return, evacuation or removal of occupation, breaking the siege of Gaza, all this he was completely silent about. So the only commitment he had made was really on the issue of settlements, nothing else.
That's right.
And even on that, as you can see, Israel is openly flouting that stand of the United States.
But first you need to understand that the fact that Benjamin Netanyahu and his government, in Israel it doesn't follow to have a right government and a left government and this, that and the other thing. They are all various shades of right-wing governments, particularly as far as the Palestinians are concerned. But Benjamin Netanyahu's far-right government, it is seen in the United States and in Europe as an incredible concession that Netanyahu has recently talked about, if not two states, two entities. This is seen as an incredible advance in West Asia, which I find to be, trivial. That means that in every generation, some Israeli leader is going to say, I favor two entities, and we are going to cheer. And then that will be forgotten for 5, 6, 7, 8 years, and then once again somebody will say, I'm in favor of just the articulation of being in favor. That is not setting up any policy toward this, this idea that you're in favor of is something to celebrate. So Obama, ironically, yes, absolutely, you're right. He has taken a backseat. He is not going to try to rattle the very, very shaky congressional Democratic, grouping. Doesn't want to break them on Israel because they are very easily broken on Israel. Doesn't want to touch all that. He has other things that he wants to go through. All that having been said, people still think that he has done more than Bush did, which I find extraordinary, because Bush was actually quite active in the early years of his presidency on Israel, which Obama has not been.
In fact, Bush at one point did withdraw or at least stop money from going into Israel for some time before letting it start again. There is no such step that Obama has taken. And coming back to that, the issue that I really find quite strange is, after all, a two-state solution is what Camp David was all about. In that sense, they have agreed Oslo peace process was all about. There is an agreement that Israel has signed for its two-state solution. Now, they're not living up to any of it.
Correct.
They're grabbing more and more parts of the West Bank. The settlements are expanding. So in effect today, the two-state solution is becoming more and more impossible. And that's the way Israel seems to want it. Now, if that is so, then At the moment, it looks like they want a long-term apartheid solution as the only solution in the occupied territories. This is something which I don't see it's how it's even viable in the long run, and how United States can have a viable West Asian policy with this as its basis.
Well, it's not just the United States, but yes, certainly Israel is running out the clock. I mean, they understand that there's a demographic problem that they have, which is why grudgingly even the far right has agreed to create some kind of condominiums for the Palestinians and Arabs outside Israel, because they don't want to dilute the Jewish character of the Israeli state. So they want to run the clock out. They have, since 1947-48, wanted large numbers of Palestinians to be absorbed into Egypt and Jordan and sort of disappear from history. I mean, that has been their hope. You bulldoze people and they will disappear. Obviously, the Palestinians aren't going anywhere. You know, they are remaining in these spaces. This has certainly been a big body blow, not only for the United States, but also for a number of Arab states. It's created long-standing problems for them. And they have no alternatives either. They don't know what to suggest as well. So, but as far as I see it, the US government is trapped by its commitment to Israel. And that is going to be a very major problem. There is a debate in the American left over whether this commitment to Israel comes because Israel is useful for US foreign policy, or whether the United States foreign policy is entrapped by an Israel lobby. I mean, that's the nature of the debate in the US. You know, Noam Chomsky and others say that Israel is useful because American foreign policy's interests anyway are similar to what Israel can do, therefore. And others like Walt and Mersheimer say that the lobby has put pressure to move American foreign policy away from American national interests. That's a remarkably narrow debate. I mean, the fact is, in practice, whether it's the lobby or whether these two countries' policies have converged dramatically. And this has narrowed the option for the United States. That's why I began by saying there is no honest broker position from the US side, and from the Israel side, there is no policy in the future that will have a humane approach to the Palestinians.
I think Israel policy is very simple, as you're saying, basically squeeze out the Palestinians if you can out of Palestine. That's really is the policy. But looking at the Arab states, what you raised, that's an interesting proposition, because the fact that Egypt broke ranks and had a 1-to-1 agreement with Israel, Yasser Arafat had a 1-to-1 agreement with Israel. It actually has meant the Arab states as a whole have no policy regarding Palestine anymore. And what you see is that when you need a confrontation with Israel to wrest any concessions, none of them are willing to come together to do that. Egypt, as we saw recently on the issue of the Rafah blockade, is building steel walls in order to continue the blockade that Israel has imposed. So all in all, I think Azmi Bashara has written recently that what they need, Palestinians need to do, is to rebuild their national unity. And what the Arab countries need to do is also to build an Arab unity, without which the Palestinian cause at the moment seems to be something that's not going to get resolved. What do you think about it?
Oh, I mean, I think that's true, except I don't think it can happen like that. I think that, for instance, the era of Arab solidarity has long gone past.
With these rulers?
With these rulers, absolutely. I mean, if you look back at it historically, when Arab solidarity, Nasserism, was at its highest point, mainly the monarchical states like Saudi Arabia, with assistance from the United States, pushed another foundation for solidarity, which was Islamism. I mean, they are the ones that called the World Muslim Conference and brought together people from each of these countries to directly confront Nasserism. And they put the stake into Nasserism. And so now what do you get? When you get these bright minds going into Hezbollah, bright minds going into Hamas, this is not like something in the ether or in the waters of countries where, Islam is the dominant religion. This is a produced political project. So yes, the new solidarity is on the framework of Islam. It's not necessarily the best foundation to combat either Israeli expansionism or American imperialism. I don't think they have an effective enough political agenda. They have committed people. They have fought defensive actions against Israel, but they don't have a political agenda through which how to change the order, to revise the balance of power in West Asia. I mean, when one reads the documents of Hezbollah, it's filled with with anger, with raw anger. But then you read and try to say, well, what is your political strategy to actually revise the power balance in West Asia? And I'm sorry to say, there is none.
Well, let's look at it this way. On the ground at the moment, there is Syria, there are sections in Lebanon like Hezbollah, Hamas, and also Iran, which is a player. All of them coming in some sort of a, shall we say, resistance to the US policies as well as Israel. So I'm not so sure that we should give up the question of Arab resistance completely. Thanks a lot. I think this has been a great discussion, that we will have more of such again. Thanks, Vijay.